I'm so excited for my daddy's podcast, and it's going to start right now.
Welcome back to the Lessons for Success show. I'm your host, Adam Wardlaw, a middle school science teacher and a high school football coach here in the great state of South Carolina. I just want to thank everybody that's been supporting the show so far. Lessons for Success has now been heard in over 5 countries and over 22 states here in America. Hopefully, you've all gained some valuable insight from our guests so far on the show. Remember that new episodes come out every Sunday, and the show is available everywhere where podcasts can be found. Keep up with the show on our social media accounts at L4S Show or use the hashtag L4S Show. Again, that's the number 4. You can also send in messages to the show by downloading the Anchor app. Feel free to send in any questions or comments related to the show so it can be featured in future episodes of the podcast.
Daddy, who's the guest on your podcast this week?
This week's guest is Coach Jim Robertson. Coach Robertson is the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Fairleigh Dickinson University in Madison, New Jersey. Coach Robertson is also the creator of the Fast 5-Star Pyramid, an organizational tool that provides a blueprint for developing a healthy vision for your classroom, team, or organization. You can follow Coach Robertson on Twitter at Jim Robertson QB. You can keep up with the Fast 5-Star Pyramid account on Twitter at Fast 5-Star. Enjoy.
Name is Jimmy Robertson, current offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Fairleigh Dickinson University in New Jersey. A little bit about myself: born and raised in Yonkers, New York, which is just outside New York City. Come from a big family, so a lot of the things that I value are things that my parents instilled into me from day one. But I was one of 6 kids. And again, those are the same things now that I want to, instill into my family, being a husband for 5 years, a father for just about 2 years. My daughter turns 2, coming up here in a month or so, and daughter number 2 on the way. So family's a big part of my life and a big part of not only my personal career, but my professional career. But born and raised in Yonkers, like I said, in New York. From there, went to high school at a school called Iona Prep in North Shell, New York. Great academic and athletic institution there. Actually just had an NBA player drafted in the first round, Ty Jerome. So people may have heard of Iona Prep because of him bringing some notoriety to the school. From Iona, was fortunate enough to go to RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, for college. It's up in Troy, New York, which is just outside the capital of New York, Albany, but about 2.5 hours from where I grew up. From there, though, was fortunate enough to be a 4-year starting quarterback there at RPI, 2-year captain, was able to earn 2 degrees from RPI, both my bachelor's and master's from such a great school. Proud of those 2 degrees first and foremost, because that's what it's all about. But had a great career there, really because of the people I was surrounded by. And I think that's super, super important, is being surrounded by great people. It started with my teammates. It was my coaches, who I still keep in touch with, a lot of them, and a lot of them are still mentors to me. The support staff I was surrounded by. But you had a great career there. We made the postseason 4 times, all 4 seasons there. Was able to break a lot of records. And just this past year in 2018 was inducted into the RPI Athletics Hall of Fame. And that was a testament to really the people I was surrounded by, like I mentioned. Proud of the accomplishment, but more proud of the people that helped get me there, the teammates, the coaches, my family, because it was because of them that I was able to do that. After the career at RPI, I actually went overseas and played football in the German Football League, the GFL, for 2 years. And that was a great, great experience. Played there for 2 years, just outside of Munich was where I played. And it was actually how the structure over there has worked. It's kind of like the soccer format. So, they have the lower leagues, and then they'll have the first division, or what they call the Bundesliga. And the organization I played for, the 2 years I was there, was the first 2 years they were in that top division, or that elite division. So we actually, my second year, made the playoffs for the first time in the organization's history. So that was a super exciting time, and really opened my eyes to how football was viewed from a worldwide perspective, and how, different values of different things were viewed from a worldwide perspective. So I had a great experience playing over there. But then obviously at some point you have to hang it up. So after the 2 years over there, decided that I was going to get into coaching full time, because that's what I was passionate about. And I think you have to do something that you love, whatever it might be. And I love, obviously, the game of football. I love, helping and mentoring and influencing young people, just like my coaches influenced me in such a way, and my parents and family influenced me in such a way. So I decided to get into coaching. My first coaching gig full-time was actually at the United States Merchant Marine Academy, which is essentially the Division III version of Army and Navy Service Academy. And that was such a great experience. Indebted to head coach Mike Toop, who's still the head coach there, for giving me that opportunity. Was the wide receiver coach for one season, then coached quarterbacks for 3 years after that. But had a great experience there, working in such an environment with such a special individual that it takes to go to a school like that, all the midshipmen there. And actually, unique experience, but was actually the head tennis coach at the academy for 2 years. You don't really see the football tennis coaches go hand in hand, but did that for 2 years, had a great time doing that. Helped lead the team to the best record they had in a long time. After my 4 years there, I was fortunate enough to move on to where I am at now, Fairleigh Dickinson University. Unfortunate, and just like I'm indebted to Coach Toop for giving me the opportunity, the same is true to, head coach Brian Serace here at FDU for giving me and trusting me to lead our offense. So I'll be going into my 5th year now as our offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And, we've built this thing up here at FDU, and I think it's going to be because of a lot of things we're going to talk about today. But this past year, we had our best record in about 25 years at FDU, and it was really a testament to our senior class, but they really helped change who we were as a program, the culture and foundation of our program, the identity of who we are. And, it leads me to where I am today as the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at FDU.
Coach, you read my mind. I want to jump right into for the people listening out there, Coach Robertson has the Fast 5-Star Pyramid of Success, and I'm going to have a graphic shared out on the Lessons for Success show social media so that you guys can get a visual as well. But I think that's something that people out there are going to really enjoy, because it's a great aid for how to organize things to make sure you're on the right track for success, whether it's a sports team or a classroom or a business or any kind of group that's goal-oriented. Coach, let's dive into the development of the pyramid. Can you kind of walk us through what that process was like, and maybe discuss why it's a pyramid? First of all, it could be a great thing, and kind of just the methodology you use to kind of develop this tool.
Yeah, so this is something that's been evolving personally for me throughout my entire coaching career, and it's really been kind of a culmination now of all the different people I've worked for and with, and the influence of it. First and foremost, obviously is my family. I know I mentioned it before, but that's the first and foremost. Then it's the other coaches that I've been around, coaches that have coached me. My coaches at RPI, Coach Joe King and, his staff that, really influenced me in such a positive way. And then it just came from going to different seminars and going to, different clinics and talking to coaches and reading some books, Pete Carroll's book and Urban Meyer's book, but then really using all those things and molding it to who I am as a person, who I am as a coach. Because I think that's the biggest thing is, it is a very systematic approach to align any team or business in one direction, because I think that's super, super important that everyone is on the same page. There's no mixed messages being sent, so everyone can be aligned in that one direction, and we have that one brand and that one identity, and that's what Fast 5-Star is. So when I came to FDU, Coach Serace, our head coach here, really entrusted me from day one to take full reins of the offense. So it was in those, first and second year that we were creating the identity of our offense, and then decided, hey, we need to really put this down in a systematic way for our players, because I didn't want to send any mixed messages or mixed signals to them about who we were as an offense. And that's where it started. I think, like you said, it can now be taken, and I've talked to people outside of football about it, whether it's in the classroom, a business, an organization, but it started with our offense at FDU. So I wanted to make sure our players on our offense really, really knew who we were, and what we were all about, so we can be aligned in that one direction, and then have branded it now as Fast 5-Star, because to us, what Fast is doing it with great energy and passion. We have to do everything with those two things, and we have to bring the juice every day. And it kind of ties hand in hand because we are an up-tempo, no-huddle offense, so it kind of ties hand in hand with our actual X's and O's as well. But that's what Fast is. And then 5-Star for us is just that relentless pursuit of being the best we can be in everything we do. And now it just ties into the overall Fast 5-Star pyramid of success, which is for us just an elite and dynamic system, mentality, and lifestyle for how we approach everything. And it all starts at the bottom of the pyramid, and that's why I made it a pyramid, because I think you need to have that foundation of your pyramid, which for us is our core values. And in the picture that you're going to share with all the listeners, it's being a real family. And the real, it's the R for respect, the E for energy, the A for accountability, and the L for love. So we can be real with one another, and now we can be a family. Tying it back in that, we have to be that family in order to be successful. And then it kind of, goes up from there into our culture and standards, style, philosophies, and our mission and vision, and we can get into all those as well. But that was kind of the background behind it. That's the reason why it is a pyramid, and it starts at the bottom. That's the foundation. You have to have that in place, because each level then drives the level above it. And ultimately, we want to be Fast 5-Star, but we have to start at the bottom in order to get there.
Coach, I love how the base of your pyramid is the core values. And, that's a term that, is popular as a term as culture is now in society and stuff, especially in sports. How do you define those core values if people are out there listening and this is something they want to develop in their own organization? Do you have any tips for how you guys defined and decided what your core values are going to be?
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing, what you said right there. I think you have to define everything, whether it's in your pyramid or whatever systematic approach you have to define these things for your team or your business or your classroom, so your players or your students or your employees all know what you mean and there's no mixed messages. So for us, we define core values as our beliefs, and that's what drives our action. And another thing within our core values is our character, because to me, character is who you are and what you do when no one is looking. And now it's our character plus those core values, which will create our culture, which is the level above the core values. But it starts with the core values, though, and we really define what each one of those are. Respect is having that regard for others, your teammates, your coaches, your support staff, your university. The energy, that's just an elite and dynamic level of excitement for us. Accountability is doing what is required or expected of you. And then love, it's an intense feeling or a deep affection. And that's for your teammates, for yourself, for everyone else that's involved within your program, team, organization, or whatever it might be. And that's what creates that real family for us within those core values.
Coach, I love how you're making sure that the people out there listening know that it's not just a employer-employees kind of relationship that's trying to get these core values. It's not just a coach and a player type deal. It is program-wide, that everybody that's involved, all the stakeholders, I feel like it's very easy to overlook certain parties when you're trying to develop these things. And that's usually where these things fail, is if in the beginning stages a particular group was overlooked or, whatever the case is. Because when you get that initial input from so many different people, that gives them some ownership. And so that's going to help them buy in more whenever you go further along in this process. And so I'm just glad that I heard you making sure to recognize those groups as well. Kind of going up to some of the next steps. You define the culture, and then above that you've got the standards. And so, how do you kind of focus as we decide, okay, these are our core values? How do you focus that attention as we move up into our culture and our standards, and our style and our philosophy, and then the mission and the ultimate stuff? Do you have any tips for the people out there who are trying to really focus what their vision is?
Yeah, 'cause I think the biggest thing is that it all aligns with the levels below and above it, and it's still staying true to who you are. You can't just put it into a pyramid because it looks great, or you put it into a chart or a graphic or signage that you're going to hang, in your building. It has to actually be who you are and what you want to do. Because I think that's the only way you truly get the buy-in. That's the only way you're truly personally going to believe in it and get excited and passionate about it. And then in turn, get your teammates or your class or your business excited about it. So I think that's the biggest thing, that it all aligns with actually who you are. You're always evolving. You're always learning. You can make some tweaks to it, but it has to stay true to who you want to be as an individual and who you want to be as a program or a team.
I thought what you said there, just being true to yourself and what you really are about. A lot of people out there simply say a lot of the buzzwords like culture and stuff because it's the popular thing to do, and it's not necessarily something they're truly passionate about or truly have their heart in. I know as coaches, we might be guilty of it with a certain scheme or something that we see another team do, and we just want to kind of add it into what we already had in the mix, when it doesn't necessarily work best like that. When you just take tidbits,
right.
You usually have to sell yourself, and it's got to be something that you're really invested in for it to pay off like it's intended to be. Same thing with teaching. We as a teacher, we see these different reading strategies and these different programs for improving whatever with our students, but we just want to take tidbits from it. We don't want to necessarily do it like it's intended to be. Do you have any kind of tips for the people out there who want to reflect on what they do value? What are some things that you would have to suggest to them as they're kind of reflecting on what they're really about?
Yeah, I think it has to be things that you actually do in your daily life. So going back to culture, because that is such a big buzzword, nowadays, but it has to actually be how you act and live on a daily basis. Your culture has to be how you eat, sleep, and breathe. So for us as an SDU offense, we will protect the offense. We will be relentless. We will be efficient. Those three things are the pillars of our culture. We believe in them. Then we know how we behave off of them, and then we know the outcome of them. But we make sure that we show the examples of when we actually do this. So when we're watching film, we're going to pick out the 5 to 8 to 10 relentless plays from that game and say, hey, we were successful here, guys, because of these 8 relentless plays. When we had a big play and we sprinted to the line of scrimmage before the defense and the chains were set, or when we all, sprinted, down the field and made that extra block, that was a relentless play. So we're going to reward that relentless mentality and those relentless plays, and we're going to acknowledge them, especially because I think you have to acknowledge, who you are and, reward the players on your team or, employees in your organization, once they live that culture and actually do what you want to do.
Right there towards the end, you talk about, rewarding the positive behavior. In a perfect world, it is, the kids will buy in. It's all going to be positive. But we're not in a perfect world. So, and there's not perfect players out there or students or employees. If you're kind of facilitating this culture and this movement, do you have any tips out there for the people who are harder to kind of get in line with the movement?
Yeah, I think you have to work with them. I think a lot of different people have different learning styles, and a lot of different people have different ways that they need you to get through to them. So I think you really have to take time, going back to, a core value of respecting everyone. You have to respect that they might, do things a little bit differently than you do right now. So to get them in line with who you guys are as a team or a business, that might take a little bit more time, than a different individual. So I think you just have to really take the time to build those relationships, bring great energy and passion at all times so that they see that you truly, truly care. And then I think you'll find that more buy-in and more excitement from them along the way.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Coach. I talked on an earlier podcast, and it might have even been off air, but I can recall asking the guest I was talking to, you got to be able to reflect on what are we doing that's going to cause people to buy in. You kind of look at it from the outside perspective and what people are seeing, and whether or not what you're doing is something that looks enticing and looks like it wants to be something that people buy into. So, I love what you had to say there about just being passionate, being energetic, and giving off those positive vibes that's going to cause people to gravitate towards you. As we move up the pyramid here, I'm at the mission kind of phase now, and it's caught my eye because these look a lot like goals, and I know that this is configured for your offense at FDU. Do you have any, or am I right there with looking at these mission step as kind of your goals, and is this kind of like for each game you reevaluate what you did? Can you kind of go into that?
Correct. So I kind of look at the mission two ways. For us, we define the mission as, today, what we want to do and who we want to be, today, and not literally just today, but, in the present time, the foreseeable, immediate future. So the big thing in the mission is just +1 over our opponent. And that opponent could be a literal opponent on the field. So then you do see those game goals underneath it for us as an offense. But just, 2-3 weeks ago, I was talking to a 5th through 8th grade class, and we talked about the mission of being +1 just over any opponent or situation in life. Right here, right now, we have to win the moment right now. So be +1, whatever that +1 might be for whatever the, opponent you're facing or situation at hand is. So it is geared on this specific pyramid to our offense with those goals, but it can be for any opponent or situation.
Do you have any tips? It could be football specific, or it can be just kind of more general about, what do you use to define those goals for that mission step?
So I think, looking at specifically this offensive pyramid I had, to define those goals, it has to be, how exactly are you going to get to that +1? So for us, +1 over our opponent on the field, these 5 things underneath it for us are what we need to do, evaluating, past seasons and past games for us to have that success. And that could be now, if you're looking at a different opponent or situation in life, what steps do you need to take in your process to get there? And it could be different for everybody, and then you also look at that, you probably see where it says 5-star at every level. For us, that's the 5-star mentality at every level, because it's hard to be 5-star. And, I'll tell our guys that, and, I'll tell anyone that it's very, very hard to be 5-star in anything. You can have a million 5-star reviews and you're 5-star, but on that millionth and first review, you get a 4-star. Now you're 4.99999. So it is hard to be 5-star, but we're going to stay in that relentless pursuit to get there. And that 5-star mentality has to always be, what we're doing and how we're thinking.
And so I guess that leads right into, if the mission step's kind of what you're doing in that moment and that today, am I right by thinking that next level up, that vision, that's kind of big, grand picture, for the days to come? Am I right by thinking that?
100%. Yeah. The vision is, tomorrow. And that's what we strive to become at some point down the road, the bigger picture things, like you said, so for us, it's to be All-American, have a presence, and build our brand in all that we do, because every single thing you do as an individual, as a team, it's affecting your brand. And your brand is super important for, who you are and what you want to be and what you want to become. So we want to strive to be All-American, and that can literally be All-American for some players, both academically and athletically, but it's really more just the overall All-American mentality of, going back to just being 5-star of, the best we can be, and building our brand to the best versions of ourselves.
Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to kind of walk through this, and I know people out there are going to gain a ton from it. One thing I like to do when I kind of wrap up our discussions is just kind of ask the guests what they feel is the most important key to success. And this could be something we've discussed already, or if it's something we hadn't necessarily got to specifically yet, we can kind of go into it a little bit. But in your opinion, what do you feel like is that one key or, two keys to success?
I think it's being fast 5-star, but no, I think it's really just having a system to align yourself on a personal level or on a team or organizational level in one direction. And that's why I think something like having, whether it's a pyramid of success like we have with the fast 5-star identity and system, or a different system that you might have, it's something that just aligns yourself, it brands yourself so people can rally around it and you create excitement about it. And then once you have that, it's truly living your culture, staying true to those core values, and living the culture, not just saying it. Because again, like we've talked about already, a lot of people say culture, but you actually have to truly live it. And then if you do this, now you'll have that opportunity, to live your standards. You have that opportunity to achieve your mission, and then you'll have your opportunity to achieve the vision if you create that great foundation and you work your way up from there.
Coach, I appreciate you giving me your time this afternoon. If anybody that's out there is listening wanted to get in touch with you or to be able to keep up with you, do you have any social medias? And I know there's some on the graphic that we are going to share out on our pages. But can you kind of shoot those out there for us?
Yeah. So my personal Twitter and Instagram is at Jim Robertson QB, JimRobertson QB. And then we also have a Fast 5-Star Twitter and Instagram, which is just at Fast 5-Star. But would love to talk more about this stuff. Would love to talk more about, up-tempo spread offenses as well. But if anyone has questions about this Fast 5-Star pyramid of success, would love to, connect more with them. My email is also Jimmy_R@fdu.edu. So whatever the best way for people to reach me is, would be more than welcome to talk to anyone, and really, really appreciate what you're doing. Love the podcast. I've listened to a bunch of episodes and really appreciate you allowing me to come on here and talk about this stuff, because it is something that I truly am passionate about and love talking about.
Daddy, I'm learning so much from this podcast.
Coach Robertson's Fast 5-Star system is great because it provides a great framework for the values that will shape your organization. Let's review this lesson for success. The foundation of the Fast 5-Star pyramid is made up of the organization's core values. This is fitting because everything in your organization should be built upon your core values. The culture of your organization will be built based upon your core values, and then the standards you will hold your members to is shaped by that culture in your organization. The standards you hold your members to will directly influence the philosophies and styles in which your group will operate. All of these underlying layers are what ultimately support the mission and vision of your organization. Without a strong foundation, the mission and the vision of your group will never be reached. Well, that's it for this week's Lesson for Success. Be sure to interact with the show on Twitter and Instagram at L4S Show, mentioning us or using the hashtag L4S Show. Again, that's the number 4. Episodes will also be placed on the YouTube channel Lessons for Success Show. Download the Anchor app in order to send in messages to the show, and your questions and comments could be featured on future episodes. All of the episodes are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or anywhere else that podcasts can be found, so be sure to like, subscribe, and rate. Thank you again for listening to the Lessons for Success Show podcast.